Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to the landing. Hello, and welcome back to the landing. I am so excited about our guest today. We have a pirate amongst us today. We have Mr. Bobo Martin, and I'm going to toss it right over to you. Please tell us a little bit about who you are, who your crowd is, where you're from, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm Bobo Martin. I grew up really in Beaufort, and my mama was a Davis, Nancy Davis, on the Davis side. Oliver and Rosalie, my grandparents. My daddy was Bobby Martin. He was a barber, and so on and so forth. And pretty much grew up around Beaufort, and just kind of went down the road of being a fisherman at a young age, got attracted to it. And my friends, I grew up with Menhaden fishing community down in Lennoxville, where a lot of my buddies, and just chose to go Menhaden fishing. I got a job at Captain Al Dudley at a very young age and went to Mississippi fishing, and one thing led to another, and went on to have a good successful career at it.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say you started out with Menhaden fishing, how old were you at that time?
The first year, I need to back up. The first year I went fishing was Captain Jimmy Willis here in Core Sound, and I was like 16. Mm-hmm. That was with Beaufort Fisheries on a boat called Lennoxville. And that was the first year. Then the next year I was 17. I went with Captain Al Dudley down in Mississippi.
So you did it full time, or was this a summer thing?
Summertime.
A summertime thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what were your duties? What kind of things did you have to do?
Well, when you just started out at the bottom, you was in what they call in the crew, working in the net, and you worked in the purse boats, and you made a set. You just get the net back and help bail the fish and stuff, and you was just a crewman. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the bottom.
Right, doing the heavy lifting.
Well, kind of. I wasn't too big. I couldn't lift too much.
Yeah.
Kind of try to work with your mind, do it the smart way.
Mm-hmm. Right, and the quicker you figure that out, the better off.
That's right.
Yeah. When you were doing that, were you the youngest there? Like, were you with some old timers? Did they teach you how? And like, how
most
was
of the
it?
time, yeah, I was pretty much one of the youngest. There might have been another guy or so on the boat that young, but yeah, working with older fishermen, that was the good part. And experienced, good men. They were good men, and it was good for me to be with those men, And pretty much that's how it came about.
Now, fishing in the water is in your blood, right?
Yeah.
So even as a smaller young man, I'm sure you were around boats and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So do you have any recollection of that? Because I'm sure some folks would know some of those people.
His granddaddy Oliver had his fish house and stuff, and we'd hang around there in the summertime a lot, and always around boats and doing this, being on the boat, and fishing off the dock. My Uncle Richard and myself, and we just always around fishing stuff.
Yeah.
Fishermen, and hearing them talk, and it's just something of course, fishermen have different language anyway, 2 or 3 fishermen get together and get to talking, and nobody else can't translate with them,
They have their own style, but also their own words.
That's right, their own story.
Yes.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you get around one, you can go to any function or whatever, and you don't know who you're gonna see, but you might see a fisherman. Then there you go. You go to talking. that's the end of the story for a little while, because that's what you talk about, is fishing.
Right. Well, it's a lifestyle.
That's right.
It's not just a job. So how long did you do the Menhaden fishing, and what came from that?
Well, I went down there with Captain Al for a season, and I went back down there, and I ended up coming home and going to Southport and fishing, and up in Virginia for one season, and then Joe Wheatley hired me in 1983 to go captain on the Gregory Pool, and I fished there for 22 years.
Wow.
And then it shut down in 2004, and it was kind of a break. I had a small boat. I worked around here for a while, and then 2010, I went to Cameron, Louisiana, fishing again, and fished there 2 years, and they shut that plant down. Went to Abbeville and fished 5 more years.
Wow.
And just been kind of piddling around here in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually thinking about going back fishing.
There you go. Well, why not?
Yeah, really.
Well, I want to back up just a little bit. So you started with when the Menhaden, you were one of the crewmen.
Right.
But then, I mean, later you said you, of course, became a captain.
Yeah, that's right. Well, in between that time, I went, I got a promotion to become a second engineer. And then I was second engineer a year or so, and then I got a mate's job, which was keeping the crew in line and pretty much keeping the net up, keeping all the rope, all the rigging and stuff, and plus running the boat some, like at night and stuff, you know. When we're fishing, we run night and day. And as a matter of fact, I was mate when Jewel hired me to go captain.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kind of build your way up.
Okay. And does that come just with skill level? I mean, is that kind of how you progress?
Ambition and skill, and you know, just if you want to do something, you learn fast. You know, and if it's in your heart, that's the key.
Yes.
You learn quick if you want to do it.
Granny Louise used to always say, "You do what you want to do."
That's right.
And it pretty much is true, isn't it?
I enjoyed fishing, and I just wanted to be I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to catch fish.
Well, you've caught your share, it sounds like. Now, what kind of fishing were you doing when you went to like Louisiana and you went to all these different places?
Menhaden fishing.
Menhaden fishing the whole time?
Yeah, Menhaden. It was all Menhaden fishing.
Now, how is that unique? Because I know that each kind of fish has its own net and its own type of
Well, we
rigging.
catch them with a purse seine, and of course, we have airplanes that help us, and
the airplanes spot the...
That's right. And everywhere you go is a little bit different. A little bit, it's not all, it's the same, but it's not the same. Fishing here on the East Coast is a little bit different than down in the Gulf, but you catch a lot of fish. You look, pelicans help, birds help you, and you...
I know why, but tell us why. Explain that. Well, how do they help you?
Well, they're feeding on them, and they dive in them and stuff, and you kind of watch them, and they kind of let you know where they are, and it's just... It's so much difference of catching them up here on the East Coast and down in the Gulf. It's just unbelievable.
Why?
Well, it's just up here you do good fishing early mornings and stuff, and kind of in the summertime when it gets hot later on in the day, the fish kind of bust up and stuff, and you don't do that much late in the day. We're down in Louisiana. Sometimes it has a tendency to blow, the wind will blow nights and kind of get choppy. And then as the sun comes up, the wind will kind of die out, and the sea will start getting prettier and moderate out and stuff. Whereas up here is kind of the opposite. And the fish show better down there later in the day. It's just in different winds, like a southwest wind up here is a good wind. It's bad down there, and it's just a lot to it.
Yeah, sounds like it. And you've got to know where you are
to
be successful.
Yeah, you kind of pay attention, you know, kind of study it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you kind of figure it out a little bit.
Pretend I'm I don't know anything about it. When you're going, do you lay your nets? Do you circle them? Do you drop the nets?
Yeah,
How do you do it?
You have two purse boats. You have two aluminum purse boats, and you have one net, and half of it in each net. Half the crew's in one purse boat, and half's in the other. And you go down, you circle the fish, you have rings on the bottom of the net, and you drop a big weight that holds the bottom of the net down, and you have a line run through those rings, and you purse the bottom of the net together. Then you get that up, and then you web the net back in the boats, half in each boat, and then when you come to the middle part of the net, which is the bunt, that's you pump the fish out of that.
Okay.
And then you're all ready to go again.
Mm-hmm. And you do it over and over and over.
Yeah. Over and over and over. Same old soup, just warmed over. That's all it is.
I love it. Okay, so after you did that type of fishing, what other kind have you done since?
Well, I've done some mullet fishing, do a little bit of shrimping and stuff, and sink netting out here for croakers and sea mullets and trout and stuff. Just pretty much all the type of fishing that goes on around this area, you know.
Do you do so seasonally? You go do what's
that's
in season
right.
kind of thing.
Summertime and early fall, most time is shrimping, and fishing's not that good. And then in the fall and winter, most time, of course, now we have shrimp, year round. Where used to, it wasn't that way. We have white shrimp, green tail shrimp here now in the fall stuff.
Thank goodness, I love them.
Yeah, and back then, well, years ago, you didn't have that, but it's all kind of changed up.
Yeah. What is your favorite kind of fishing? That's a hard question, isn't it?
The favorite kind is when you're catching a lot, making good money.
No matter what kind it is.
Yeah, right.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
That's the best kind.
That's the best kind. All right. I want you to think back. And you might not be too far to answer this question, but it might be. Think back of your best day fishing. That might be hard. Think for a second.
Well, you have a lot of good days and you have a lot of bad days. And the thing about it is, after a while, I guess when you get a little bit of experience, it don't take but about 15 minutes in the morning, in the beginning of the day, you tell what the day's going to be like. You can kind of tell.
Explain that. How?
Well, the way things get to go, and you can kind of tell if it's going to be a good day or not so good a day.
Things mess up.
Yeah, you have. And another thing is when things get going too good. That's when that worries me.
That's when you're scared.
You get scared because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Do you have a biggest day?
Well, I remember one day on the Gregory Pool, we loaded Gregory Pool twice, and we loaded the Taylor's Creek. That's a smaller boat that both fisheries had that fished in the Sound. So we caught almost 4 million Menhaden one day. And that was out in the fall. That was in the late 80s, I would say. 87, 88, 89, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that was probably the most fish we caught in one day.
That's a crazy amount. Menhaden, I've heard it all my life. I don't know much about a Menhaden fish. How do you eat them? What do you do? What's so special about a Menhaden?
Well, most people don't eat them. The old timers ate them. The great big mammy shad, they called them. They come down here in the fall and they had roe in them.
Mm-hmm.
They were very good. I used to have a cook on the Gregory Pool. His name was Robert Willis. They called him Shag. He would bake them. They're real bony, and he'd bake them. And they got the best flavors ever been. Oily, but they're mostly used for bait. People use them for crab bait, and of course the companies process them. They have a lot of oil, and they use the fish meal for poultry feed and stuff, and they use them for live bait, lobster bait. The way it's turned out is probably turned out to be the most valuable fish in the water.
Sounds like it's very versatile. They can
Yeah.
use it a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Are they small fish?
Well, they vary in size. Of course, when they're young, they're small. Then they grow and they get big here on the East Coast. They get real big, and supposedly they live 7, 8 years, 8 years or something. They get pretty big. Down in the Gulf, they don't get that big, but down in the Gulf they have more oil in them. I don't know why that is, but they're fatter down there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's the reason the companies have those plants down there. That's really where the money is in the oil, I was always told.
So you're still fishing, is that right?
Yeah, I'm still fishing around here. I'm not Menhaden fishing, but I'm doing a little bit of shrimping and piddling.
Piddling. If you were to talk to your young self, would you do it all again?
Yeah, I do it all again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Uh-oh.
it's a shame. It's a shame we don't get that chance, but that's just not the way it works, is it?
It is not the way it works.
You look back, and like I was talking about earlier, you can't look back too much, but I don't know. You go down this road once.
Yeah. So what have you seen in your years of fishing? Because you sounds like you've got lots of versatile experience. What have you seen that has impacted fishing the most? For good or bad. Doesn't have to be either way.
Well, there's this big squabble about overfishing and things are changing. I personally feel like that a lot of development here right on the water, a lot of the wetlands and the wooded areas and all this development. And I'm not criticizing anybody.
Yep.
As we're talking about change, everything changing, nothing you can do about it. But I just feel like it's too much stuff going into water.
Yeah.
Too much runoff.
Too much runoff.
And seems like the fishermen always get the finger pointed at them, but I can't agree with that.
Yeah.
You know.
They make an easy target. So
that's right.
Advice. What are some things, some nuggets of knowledge that you have gleaned through the years? What have you learned from fishing that you can apply to life?
I'm going to tell you the difference between luck and skill.
There you go. That's a good one.
Luck is when you go, and I call it the fish catch you. In other words, you just go fishing and you run right in them. Mm-hmm. You just got the clear blue. That's when I say they catch you. But when the skill is when you think it and it happens. In other words, you say, I'm going to kind of do this today and go here and catch some here, whatever, and some days that'll happen. And that's the difference between luck and skill, in my opinion.
That thinking it and making it happen has got to be more rewarding.
Well, and that's another thing. You got to make things happen. They just don't happen on their own. That's where that luck comes in.
Yeah.
You just kind of stumble up on something. You got to make things happen. You got to, and another thing, to be a fisherman, you got to be a hunter. You got to keep hunting. Mm-hmm. They're not going to come to you. You got to keep looking. And that patience, you got to have patience.
Right. Wow.
A lot of patience.
So it sounds like to me that fishing isn't easy.
Well, it depends on if there's any around or not.
Okay. But
if there's fish around, it's kind of easy.
It's going to ebb and flow.
Yeah. And you have good times and bad times. And there's sometimes you can't make them. And we have a saying, we're gonna whittle somehow with a knife, Well, kind of hard
If
to load
only.
that boat that way, but there's just times, that's nature. That's getting back to nature. See, everybody wants to restrict the fisherman, but he's got enough restricting him. He's got Mother Nature, the weather. Fish have been here, they're going to be here. There's no way that you can catch them all.
Mm-hmm.
People think you just go, you get on your boat, and you go right there and you catch a load. That ain't the way it works. It don't work that way.
Thank goodness that's not how it works, right?
I know I've been to meetings in the past about, they wanted to restrict us about Menhaden fishing. And some of the guys, they were king mackerel fishermen and they wanted to catch live bait. And I can understand their point. They had nice, expensive boats and they rigged everything up and they'd go in the ocean and they'd look for Menhaden for live bait, but they couldn't find any. And I've seen the time that our planes would fly from the North Carolina, Virginia line all the way to Little River, the South Carolina line, the whole coast, this whole coast, and never see any Menhaden in the summertime.
Wow.
But yet in the fall, when they migrate from up north, there's no end to them. It's just the way it is. It's just the way, and it's nobody's fault. Of course, the people looking for them think when they saw us, they said, "Well, they've caught them all," but they were up north. See,
they weren't here.
This
to
is
catch.
a big coast. It's East Coast. Yeah. It's a vast ocean.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness, yes, it is. All right, there's one thing that Daddy likes to do with me, and so I'm gonna try it on you.
Okay.
Daddy, he's a bird. So sometimes he'll get on a kick and he'll start telling fishing stories and he'll tell me the worst he's ever been hurt. And most of the time it's on board a boat and he gets in a scrape. So off the top of your head, and I know I'm throwing you here one that I didn't warn you about, but can you think of a time when you just got in a scrape?
Yeah, I can think of several.
Well, let me say, can you
I'm gonna tell you the worst time I ever been hurt.
All right, start there, because that's
I was
what he
on a
does.
shrimp boat in Pamlico Sound, a 90-foot shrimp boat. Had 3 men on there, and we'd been catching shrimp. Caught them during the daytime, kept shrimping that night. We were going to go in and unload the next day. And, of course, you always try to do the best you can and make as much as you can and do this and that. Instead of going in anchor and resting up, we were going to work that night and kind of catch a few more and kind of pay, help on the expenses and stuff. So the guys were laying down and we had been shrimping in one area there in the Sound, so we went somewhere else. And we were making a try with a try net, and I went there to get the try net up and had the right many fish in it. So when I got it and got a hold of it and went to yank it across the rail, I slipped down and the net the bag full of fish and everything kind of fell down on my leg and it had a great big stingray in it.
Oh my goodness.
And he stung me in the leg. Oh. And I had a pair of long blue jeans on. And it all happened so fast. It ain't like it. Well, it pulled the stinger out is what it did. And when it was all said and done, I was there on my rear end. I looked, and my leg went to burning. And I looked, and that big stinger was in that bag.
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at my pants, and the stinger was sticking in me. I snatched it out. I didn't know what I did with it.
Oh man!
But I was killed.
You were killed.
I had to go get the crowd up. We had to haul back and go in.
Oh man! And that's a burn and
Oh, that was terrible.
That hurts me just thinking about it.
That was bad.
Oh. But I mean, we talk about fishing and we talk about working in the water, but it's dangerous.
Oh, it is.
You got to be serious enough to not get hurt and killed.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot. Oh, my goodness.
I read a book one time, an Indian chief was saying that death's always on your shoulder, over your shoulder. He's right.
Yeah.
We don't know how many times we've come close to getting killed.
Well, and like you said, that happened in a split second. You went
And
from
I've
good
had
to...
several other things that happen fishing. Just lucky, and things just happen so fast.
Well, are there any parting words, any words of wisdom or anything that you remember we talked about you leaving here and wishing you had said something? So is there anything that you had thought?
Well, fishing's been good to me, and I've really, the best part of it is all, like you said earlier, all the older and all the people that I have met, especially in the Menhaden, and fishing right here the same way. You know, met a lot of different people, good people. And, well, it's kind of like your family, your fishing family, you know. And I got so many good memories of fishing with older men from Virginia and all over, just good people.
Mm-hmm. Good,
and that was a blessing,
folks. Yeah. You are blessed. You are blessed for sure. Well, Bobo, it's been great talking to you. And it's sad to say because we're kin, but it's great to meet you. I had never met you before. So nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, cuz.
Everybody's kin, I think, over here.
Yeah, we are, for sure. Well, thank you. And who knows? I might be calling you again sometime to talk about something else.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Now that was fun. Bobo's insight and knowledge have been well earned and are much appreciated. The joy fishing brings to him was evident through his stories and his contagious smile, which was on his face throughout our conversation. What a great guy. Be sure to join us next week when we are joined by Ms. Nita Willis. You don't want to miss her wonderful visit. Until then, stay safe and be kind.